From beautiful East Tennessee in the foothills of the Smoky Mountains, you are listening to the Sherry Voluntary Show, and I certainly appreciate you spending your time with me. Today, our episode is going to be a guest appearance I did on the podcast Sounds Like Liberty with Nick and Liz Picone. And I think you're really going to enjoy this episode. It's something, music is a passion of mine and it's a passion of theirs. And we have just such a good time talking about music and its influences on my life and libertarianism. Enjoy.
Hello there, welcome to Sounds Like Liberty. This is episode 28 with the Launchpad Media, always launching ideas in your direction. I am your host, Lizzie, and I'm here with my fabulous co-host, Mr. Nick P.
Word.
How you doing? It's
I'm-
almost New Year's, what?
Yeah, technically, it's the 31st, so tomorrow will be the new year.
Oh, well, there you go. We're right here on the cusp of 2019,
Yeah.
my
But
friends.
what that really means is that if you're hearing this and you didn't already sign up for Freedom Song 365, you missed the boat, kids, and you get to listen to all the people that are in that esteemed group. Tell you all about it, hopefully.
There you go.
As I want to create an army of music-backed libertarian activists.
Right on.
Like, look, they said it here. Y'all don't understand it. And that's the real goal behind Freedom Song 365, to create an army.
Well, there you go.
A libertarian army, but an army nonetheless.
I mean, I am super excited about this because music has always been one of those things that, like, you know, when I am trying to get my motor running at the beginning of the day, there are some songs that I can put on that just kind of get me in that mode, and I'm like, heck yeah, let's do this thing.
Let's go a-rioting.
I don't know if that's it
Looting,
necessarily.
pillaging?
I mean, for me, it's more like a jump in the line, work your
Sorry,
body
I
in
was
time
trying
sort
to,
of thing.
I was trying to
but
be overtly racist and say, because you're black, you know, your people destroy cities.
I don't. None of that. Just over my head completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I can't even be fake racist and get called on it, folks. That's how oblivious this woman is to the whole thing.
I mean, I live my life because that's my life and that's how I live it. I mean, I appreciate the struggle. I can understand the struggle. I just don't have an experience with the struggle, like all of that. So
The struggle is real, they tell me.
the struggle is real. There are many real struggles, however, and I feel like that is not the only one that one could focus on.
Like having your photo taken when you're black and your partner's white, or vice versa,
That is a real,
and trying to get
Struggle.
both of us
Maybe
in
not.
the picture to show up.
maybe not one of the more pressing ones in the world,
You
but
say
it
that.
is a real struggle.
I mean, there's not many pictures of both of us together, and I
know.
think that's part of the problem.
We have like the one really fabulous picture that we got taken a while back, and
I mean, they washed it out pretty good for you to show up.
I mean, yeah,
You kind of look like the black spot standing next to me.
it works though. I like it, and you know I will put up with that.
And then there's
in
the
order
pictures.
to have my pictures with you.
And there's the pictures where you show up,
and you look like a glowing,
a little
glowing
ghost, an apparition. They're fun.
You're magical. You get to be a
So-
magical like vampire, like Edward.
So, welcome to 2019, folks. I believe this is coming out on the 2nd
There you
of
go.
January of 2019.
Oh, it's on, you guys.
2018 was pretty good.
2018, it was an
I
awesome
think
year.
2019 is going to be better.
I think so too.
That's my goal.
That's what the heck we're pushing for.
Got a lot of goals for 2019.
Yep.
And
We're gonna get down on it like right away.
I love that song.
I know it's a good song.
You
You can't see it right now, but we're both like
Yeah,
shaking
we
our
were.
butts in our chairs.
know, we've got a lot of podcasting talking about Christmas and some musicians and self-esteem and Music and politics here.
And I mean, I might end up on like some sort of a ladies like liberty-minded
Are you
podcast
allowed to
happen
talk
on.
about-
Watch out. I mean, I'm not gonna give any sort of crazy details or anything, but like if that should happen, you guys might want to look out for it. Whatever.
But hopefully it's not too successful in that I like doing this, and I've
No,
got to keep your
I wouldn't-
bushel
I
under
wouldn't
my.
bail on you, baby.
Does it keep your bread under the bushel? I don't remember how that. This is the light under the bushel. That's what it is.
Light under the bushel. Oh, you're trying to make like one of those biblical references.
I guess I don't know.
You're like, man, I'm a little rusty there.
Yeah, no, I was never that kind of Christian. So.
No,
But
you
yeah,
weren't a tub thumper.
we got a bunch of big things coming up. One of which is I'm officially going to be moving the Freedom Choir from Patreon. We don't get a lot of money to our Patreon currently, anyways. But I'm going to be moving that to a new system, completely in house. Say fuck those guys.
Okay, but for the record, that is fuck Patreon, not fuck the people who have been kind enough to patronize us
Yeah, no,
through
no.
Patreon. You guys are awesome, and we really appreciate you because you guys are awesome. So,
Yeah, I much appreciate the people that have supported us thus far. So, and like I said, even if I didn't have supporters, I'd still like to hear myself talk.
but I mean, having supporters is kind of
Well, no,
ridiculous.
having supporters is good for Irma
Well, yeah,
because I do pour personal money into doing this. So,
yeah, that's true.
that could be food for her. But the podcast takes precedence.
I'm not quite sure that's the way that shakes out.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure she eats pretty well.
You calling our kid fat, Liz?
No,
I am.
good God.
Anyways, folks, we'll stop belaboring it about the news in the world of Sounds Like Liberty. All I want to do is say, like you said, you missed out on the Freedom Song 365 party for the time being.
But keep your eyes peeled because there'll be more news about it, and it's gonna open up again eventually. You just gotta jump on it when it
Maybe.
does.
I'm not guaranteeing anything.
I suppose that's true.
I'm a vindictive son of a bitch. You didn't want to be a part of this when it started. Like, you missed the train.
There's that.
So, speaking of vindictive sons of bitches,
Hey,
let's analyze some music today.
there's a segue.
Liz chose this one, folks. I know she's never heard it until
I
just a
haven't.
few
I'm
moments ago.
excited that I chose it though because reading the lyrics, I'm really interested. It's all historical, y'all.
I can't believe how communist it is.
I mean, it is what it is.
It's not communist.
We're gonna talk about it.
It is. Let me pull it up here.
It's
Declaration Day by Iced Earth.
We all did that creepy twin thing.
We are creepy twins. Yeah, I particularly enjoy it because it's definitely got that Ronnie James Dio metal feel.
Yes.
Apparently I haven't listened to Iced Earth in a while because I remember them being less power metal, more speed metal. I feel like. But apparently I was wrong.
No, this feels very power metal, like epic.
Yeah, no, it was pretty epic. And it was about the only libertarian document that the country has ever known.
Yeah,
So we have that.
that they almost immediately deviated from.
Oh, no, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was in its grave before it was ever finished. But that, would be the Declaration of Independence. So, you want to start from the top and read, or do you want me to read?
You've got it pulled up. You go ahead and read.
Okay. A desperate situation, forced to retaliation. The task ahead a burden. Men will suffer, that's for certain. We'll charging to the fire. The cause we must inspire. We raise our fist to tyranny. A high price. Freedom is not fee. It's $1.09, right? Freedom isn't free.
So there you go.
Takes folks like you and me.
I mean, and I guess that's why it falls under just a cheesy banner, just a smidge. 'cause
Oh,
there's-
no, it's really cheesy.
There's some of those, Merkin catchphrases in there,
I mean, it's a straight Iron Maiden knockoff.
but focusing on the lyrics, we're hearing some good stuff. And forced into retaliation is one of the big points here. I feel like.
I mean, they use the word freedom and tyranny. That's it's a start.
Yes.
The odds are stacked against us, but with our resolve relentless. In arrogance their weakness. Our cause is just, we won't be beaten. Upon this declaration will come a grand new nation, where men are seen as equal, governed by and for the people. That's where it kind of starts losing me.
Yeah.
Because, no, not everyone is equal. I do not buy that. As Thomas Sowell says, I'm not even equal to myself from day to day.
Yeah, and let's face it, there were already some inequalities in the way that the nation was set up at its beginning. But the idea is very... the idea is a good one.
And I mean, and he also, says governed by and for the people. Which immediately I'm like, yeah, you're talking about this governing thing.
Right.
I don't know how on board with that I am. Like, a nation? I don't know. What's a nation?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like their heart's in the right place. But much like the people at Occupy Wall Street, they're still barking up the wrong tree.
I mean, yeah. This almost feels more like a kind of a Tea Party sort of an attitude than a completely liberty-minded
When
one.
the Republicans thought they were libertarians.
I mean, which was kind of nice. It was nice to sort of see them little closer to our side of the picnic.
I'll take allies.
But, yeah.
I just wish they'd know they're allies and not libertarians.
They really were enjoying wearing that banner there for a sec.
It's like it's like the word statist, which I think we're supposed to use as a pejorative. But I mean, I don't know why it has to be. I mean, it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You believe in a state or you don't. Now, if you think that that's a bad idea, then it could be a pejorative. But I don't know why a statist would take it as a pejorative. It's simply a statement of fact.
Yeah.
Your principles believe that there should be a state, so you are therefore a statist.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I would just use it as a line of delineation more than anything.
Yeah, well, but you're an analytical sort of guy. People get emotional.
Anarchist-political. Anarcholytical.
But
Making up words, folks. Okay, how about you take the chorus?
with virtue as our beacon.
Okay, you weren't going to read the chorus. That's fine.
Oh, sorry, my bad. So we make our stand and pray on this declaration day. For independence I will fight. With liberty I will defy. So we make our stand and pray on this declaration day. Give me liberty or give me death. I'll fight till my last breath. Well, there you go.
Nice.
I'm trying to get you all riled up there.
I'm glad they actually laid it out there pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
This is always the thing that I have difficulty with, because there's a certain degree. I understand and appreciate the sentiment of, fight the battle at all costs.
Sure.
But I don't know that me dying is really going to produce results for my kid that are going to be optimal.
I see your point there.
Just, throwing that out there. Because a month or two ago, I got into an argument with some prick on Facebook about, how we all need to take up arms right now and take the government back or something like that. I'm like,
So volunteer to be the first ones against the wall, then.
well, no, I mean, really, technically, what you're doing is volunteering your children into slavery.
Yeah.
Like a worse slavery than they're already a part of. What are you going to do? So, best case scenario, you're locked in a fiefdom of land that you protect with 24-hour guns, and your kids will never be able to interact with other human beings. Like, is that what you want? It doesn't really seem like it's serving any purpose to me.
Yeah, there are probably other ways to go about that.
Yeah. So you can get the last verse here.
Okay. With virtue as our beacon, our cause is charged as treason. Battle-worn and starving, through the hell of war we'll keep marching. The birth of our new nation, an act of desperation, will force King George down to his knees. Capitulation.
Yeah, I mean, he apparently didn't like this King George fella.
Well, I mean, he had his sore points with people, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. We skipped over the ripping guitar solo. I was going to mimic it word for word for you, but I chose that would take too long.
That felt like the actual battle montage there.
Yeah. And it does go back into the chorus again. But
Yes.
I hate repeating stuff. The lyrical content's lyrical content.
Yeah, we get the idea.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably still going to give it an Eric July
Yeah.
rake. Because I do think that, at least for some people, the cause was the cause. I think that they're a little confused in here.
About the actual motivations, maybe?
Well, I know. I mean, the whole idea of a new nation. I mean, I guess Ancapistan could be considered a nation of non-nation. I guess it's trying. It would be like looking for the word to name something that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and
So
there is an argument that the fact that they were willing to kind of go that far outside the box makes it possible for people to continue to sort of push that envelope and look for more liberty and more freedom. So
yeah.
there you go.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm glad to listen. It's been a long time since I've listened to Iced Earth. Apparently, I used to be into them in like college and stuff, but you know how my whims are musically. Like apparently somebody told me that I listened to like, what did he say I listened to today? The guy we were interviewing, not the guy we were talking to Sherry Voluntary on this particular episode, but
Like 30 seconds of a song, and then you got the gist and you move on.
No, we were talking about like how he pegged me as like someone who listens to like hardcore punk.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you do bring up a lot of those records as far as our Bandcamp recommendations, but I think that's just because you like the level of musicianship those guys are bringing right now.
I guess. Well, no, but it's like to me, I listen to a lot of prog now. Like I've really been on a prog tip lately.
Well, maybe. My tastes are all over the place all of the time. I just whatever suits my fancy.
Yeah, like depressing music. That's what suits your fancy.
Well, I mean, generally that is a through line, yes.
Okay. So I'll label it Eric July. What do you think? You agree?
Yeah,
It works?
I can jump on there.
All right. Well, having that out of the way, let's move on to the new music and see what I have for us this week.
Oh, snap.
Welcome to I Heard This Happen, the segment for aging hipsters. Each week we scour Bandcamp for underground new releases to wow your teenage children. So without further ado, here's new music.
Okay, so this week, and I heard this happened. You want to start, Liz? Or do you want me to stay the game?
I don't know. Do you really want to start?
I never want to start.
Okay, I'll start.
I like to read the audience and see how it feels.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I picked a band that is, it's called Moves, and it's a self-titled debut. So the name of the record is Moves, and it is an actual full album. I picked an actual full album.
I'm pretty impressed.
I know, it
Color
doesn't
me
happen
impressed.
often. So 12 tracks, and they are from Asheville, North Carolina.
Just for the record, I bet my album's still longer.
I'm sure it probably is, because
It's only 8 tracks, I guarantee.
these
there's more to
songs
it.
are all short and sweet, but the band is like 2 guitars, bass, synth, drums, keys, trombone, clarinet, trumpet. Like there's a lot of just.
It's got a little chamber music kind of thing going
Yeah,
on.
and I really like it
1970s.
because it does. It feels kind of like the 70s. Kind of easy listening touches in there. There's some soul touches in there. There's it reminds me of Alabama Shakes a little bit in some spots.
It reminded me a lot of Florence and the Machine.
Well, that's my
with
favorite.
the one vocalist. The other vocalist did not give me that appearance.
And there are I think 3 vocalists on this record that are singing the different songs. And I like that because they each bring a different flavor. Most of them are doing kind of a soul thing, but maybe in different ways. My favorite track is Radio on Low, and that is kind of the one that reminded you the most of Florence and the Machine, because it's just, and I just love it. It's so kind of groovy with the little like doo-woppy touches. And
If this
whatnot.
was on video, they would have just saw the face I got mimicking me singing some Florence and the Machine.
Yes, and it was delightful. And that is a sound that I really like. But Long Cold Nights is really cool too. It's like super kind of soul to me. It just has that feel, and you got the horn section in there, just really driving those grooves home. And I really, really enjoyed it. Ode to Pat and Quinn makes me think of like the 70s easy
What
listening
if it had
stuff.
been Ode to Patton Oswalt?
Because it's so smooth. So smooth. So check it out. It's a really fun record. It's it's pretty poppy, but if you get into any of that at all, that 70s kind of thing. You like Fits in the Tantrums, if you dig Alabama Shakes, any of that stuff, it'll take you to some cool places in
If
that
you
wheelhouse.
dig any of that, we're probably not friends. I'm just kidding.
Don't be a hater.
I love my wife, and she likes all that terrible stuff.
I know. This is fun.
Alabama Shakes had a good song, right?
I've had a couple. I mean, I'm a sucker for that band anyway.
I know you are. Anyways.
All right, so what do you got?
All right, this week I have Everything That Is You by Thrailkill out of Los Angeles.
Ooh.
The album came out December 21st. It is an 8-track guitar prog album. I'm very clear when I say I label these because there is prog and then there's guitar prog.
Okay.
And that I'll say that's more of like the Plini, Chan even a little bit, like where you have like these virtuoso guitar players. A lot of it's, not a lot of vocals, mostly it centers on like just guys doing a whole lot of tapping and stuff.
Okay.
And so this is that. It kind of reminds me of like if Satriani, if he decided to incorporate fusion into gent, but spent a summer as like the guitar player for Chevelle.
Oh, I like so many of those references. That's a
I
fun
know, which is
description
funny
for it.
because she didn't particularly care for the album.
It was just a
No.
little intense
Look,
for me.
I put it on, and
personally.
you just looked at her face like contort and go, "I don't know what's happening,
No,
Nick."
well, the first track you played for me was just a little like much for me personally. But I think the second and third tracks that I heard, I kind of got into the grooves a little bit more. Like they sort of won me over after a while, and I really like a lot of those influences that you mentioned. So it kind of makes sense that some of it would strike a chord with me.
Well, good.
And I'm not necessarily
I'm just saying your initial reaction was. What
Oh
the fuck
no!
are you
I
listening to?
absolutely there was a moment of this is, and I was driving at the time.
Like, let's
too,
just put
which
it this way: there's no time signatures that I could find. It's literally just like everything is one note measures.
And I think part of the thing is that kind of music demands a little bit more from my brain. So if I'm doing something like driving,
I mean, I don't want to say
my
that
concentration is divided. So
In
I'm
any way-
automatically going to be like, what is going on right now?
Yeah, driving does take a surprising amount of mental.
Energy for me.
Yeah, I don't know how useful any of it is, but the driving there doesn't seem to get any better.
There you go. I'm just not going to touch that. It's fine. We'll just leave it at that.
10-foot pole.
Yeah.
So my favorite song is actually Everything's.
Okay.
So it's got an apostrophe S at the end of it. I don't really know what that means. Everything's. Does this belong to everything?
Maybe it belonging to everything.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's unabashedly prog and guitar prog. Like literally, it is just a collection of riff after riff after riff. I don't even know how many of the songs actually reprise any of their like themes.
Yeah, no, it's just like,
It's
and I
just-
think that was part of the thing that threw me. He just touches on stuff and then it's gone, and you just like, okay, no, move on.
You heard it, and now that's in the past, and we're moving on to this new place.
Yeah.
But one thing I really do like is that the album actually had a lot more synth work than I'm used to with guitar bands. Because usually with the guitar prog bands, they all just want to let me do tapping solos for the next 20 minutes, and it'll be what it'll be.
Yeah.
And this didn't do that. And I appreciate that it didn't do, like, there was actually like some piano stuff in there, so just some synth work, which harkens back to like classic prog, a la Yes and
Yeah.
Genesis and stuff like that. So
Which I think is part of what kind of won me back, and like, okay, you're reaching out with a little
I
accessibility.
mean, there was
I
actually
can-
there's some moments in the record where it gets just downright smooth jazz.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I do love me some smooth
I
jazz.
love you some smooth jazz.
Anyways, the other thing that I wanted to point out that also kind of breaks character for the genre, as far as I'm concerned, is they have a huge list of people that played on the record that aren't in the band.
Oh, interesting.
Like, it's a 3-piece band, and like there's just so many people that are listed that actually played on it that aren't, band members. And I think that adds a lot to how the album kind of manages to have, like, sonically it is pretty one note, but there are textural differences in some of the actual mutations that they take with that.
Okay.
So the album, like I said, is Everything That Is You. You can find it on Bandcamp, like everything we put here.
That's right.
It's fantastic. Good job, guys.
Nice.
Okay, so anything we wanna mention before we get into this interview with Sherry Voluntary?
I mean, I honestly am having trouble focusing on anything else because I'm so stoked about this interview.
You know what I'm stoked for?
She's kind of amazing.
So we've been like running interviews that we recorded months ago at this point.
Yeah.
Because Liz has been in.
I just kind of fall off the face of the earth during December, guys.
Yeah.
'cause-
She works for UPS, so thank her
Yeah.
for getting all those Amazon packages.
And it's literally just like being an elf in the workshop, and you forget that the world outside exists. You're just up there in the North Pole.
It was pretty intense. Like, you were working 12-hour days every day.
Yeah.
I don't know how the kid managed, but
You know, we all got through it, and hopefully we're gonna be better for it.
I mean, she had to spend more time with me, which I don't know is necessarily the greatest idea for anyone.
Yeah,
certainly not.
She's a
going
pretty
to
amazing kid, though. She bounces back.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, like I said, some big changes coming up in 2019, folks.
Yes.
Lots and lots of new stuff.
Very cool stuff.
Y'all need to start signing up. I want to know who's coming to hang out with me at Porkfest.
Oh, so excited.
Who wants to meet Irma?
So excited.
I'm going to be honest, you all want to meet Irma.
She's adorable and a really entertaining kid.
Hey, she's something else. She's the entertainment.
Yeah.
But without further ado, here is our interview with Sherry Voluntary. Welcome to Sounds Like Liberty, Sherry.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Are we started? You're starting?
I always just roll tape. Whatever happens, happens.
Great.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much I've told you, but we're a different type of podcast in that we talk to people that have similar politics about things that aren't politics.
Yeah, that's great.
In particular, music. Yep. And it's not about making you an expert on music. All you have to be is an expert on your thoughts on music and what you like.
Okay. Hey, I'm sorry to do this. Can you give me 1 second? It's really distorted, and I accidentally turned up when I put my card in my camera. I accidentally turned it up too high. So I'm going to turn you down a little bit.
Go for it.
There's no sense in me being too loud. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. I just didn't. Oh, I'm not in the mic. Hold on. I'm coming. Here we go. Okay. I didn't want you to be all distorted because I think I talked to you before about asking if I can play this for my show sometime. Did I ask you that? I usually do, but
Yeah,
maybe I
totally.
didn't.
You absolutely
Okay.
can.
So I'm recording it so that I would have it as well, and you don't have to worry about sending me anything, but I didn't want you to be all distorted.
Nice.
I mean, I am distorted.
But
It's
here,
just my garbledy nature, though.
Well, thank you.
there you go.
So, let's start it off with the obligatory get to know you question.
Okay.
Who is Sherry Voluntary, and how did you find your way to the Liberty Movement?
Okay. Well, I am just basically a bougie white chick who lives in Tennessee now, and I grew up in Chattanooga. And I left home when I was 18 and moved around all over the place, and then came back about 16 years ago because I'm an old lady. And then I started. It kind of coincides with my journey into libertarianism because I started listening to Neil Bortz out of Atlanta. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him.
I have not.
Yeah. So he was a guy. He is what I would call now a big L libertarian. I don't think he's all the way libertarian from my opinion, but he used to do these things with Sean Hannity all the time. So that tells you how much of a libertarian he is.
Gotcha.
He had it where it counts on, as far as gun rights and things like that. But he talked about eminent domain a lot, and I had never heard of that. And he's the first person that I remember hearing call themselves a libertarian, and I wasn't really sure what that was either. So there were many years there because I agreed a lot with him that I thought I was a libertarian as well, and I really wasn't. I was still a neocon, and I was a neocon. I was a fight them there, so you don't have to fight them here, and the U.S. has to protect its interests around the world. I was that person shameful to say now, but that's who I was. And, I started, like, I think my husband started reading a lot of Ayn Rand. Because we were both, like, talk show junkies, talk radio junkies. And so that's what we did all the time. I would, at home all day, I would listen to talk radio, or, when I'm driving to work and back, listen to talk radio. And so I was like a Rush babe, that kind of thing, which sounds silly now. I'm like, oh my God, I feel for those people because I was there once.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have been there at some point, or our
yeah, but
families or something.
Yeah, it's part of the journey, right? I guess.
Absolutely.
And so,
Yeah, for you right-wingers.
I know. You came from the left, la-di-da.
right. And so I was on the right, but I always had like this idea of live and let live. And, I grew up knowing gay people, so I didn't have that, even though I was religious, I didn't have that religious perspective of they shouldn't be allowed, that kind of. Can I cuss on this show? I didn't ask.
Oh, yeah.
Do you try to keep it?
All you
Okay,
want.
that kind of
I'm a sailor.
bullshit.
Yeah.
So that kind of bullshit thinking that somehow two dudes being married is going to do something to marriage as an institute, whatever that means, institution.
Yeah.
It's crazy stuff like that. I never was in that camp. But I was definitely totally a neocon in many ways. And so Mike, my husband, started reading Ayn Rand and listening to a guy in Minneapolis, I think it was, his show was out of, called Jason Lewis. And he really liked Jason Lewis's show. And then this guy, Tom Woods, appeared on the Jason Lewis show occasionally. And yeah, I know. Who's that guy? So that was really the beginning for us. And he would read more Ayn Rand, and I would sort of read some of hers. I didn't read like Capitalism. He read Capitalism and things like that. But I read Anthem and some other works, and just started really being more consistent in my ideas of property rights and individualism, things like that. So it was just like from there, it was the 6 month thing for us. Like in 6 months, we were full on anarchists. Like I had like this religious experience in my kitchen one day. I'm cooking and Mike's talking to me and he says something, and it's something he heard on Tom Woods, I think. And it was about the military, because that was the last bastion. That was the hardest thing for me to give up, was my military. I had a really hard time with that. Because I was so I almost went in the Marine Corps or the Army before I met him. Like I almost did that. So I was really into that. And a lot of my friends who called themselves libertarians were in the military and who, hoorah people. And that was really hard for me to give up. But once that domino fell, it was like whoosh, everything just, it was almost like the Matrix moment, where you see the code and you're like, oh my God, I see it all so clearly now. And since then it's been anarchy all the way. So.
Here we go.
Yeah.
That's
Liz was holding back, and then she read a book on homeschooling. And
Well, it was a book on homeschooling written by a voluntarist. Is that the term?
I only know is Roger Paxton read it.
Yeah, and I couldn't kind of reconcile myself with that whole idea of taking away people's choices, sort of by proxy anymore. So that was what got me to anarchy.
Isn't that interesting? Because homeschooling, you think conservative Christian when you think homeschool. That's what most people do.
Yeah,
especially,
absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't think people realize how many like anarchists and alternative people are in the homeschool movement, and it's great.
I think that actually has more to do with like where you come from, because to me, I've never thought of it as an exclusively right wing thing. It's always been a fringy thing. So like it's either going to be like the ultra religious people or the ultra granola hippies.
Oh,
it was always going to be one or the other. Like either they're afraid of the bad ideas, or they're afraid of the chemicals in the water.
Oh, there you go.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and you do run into those. But yeah, for me, coming from the South, like the only people I'd ever heard of that homeschooled their kids wore buns and no pants
Right.
and
Really long
no
dresses.
makeup.
and-
Well, you're from
Yeah.
the South, though,
Yeah.
right?
yeah, the Bible
I
Belt's like
am.
that.
Yeah, I am. I am. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee now, and which is, it's kind of like, it's not quite like Austin, but it's kind of like the Austin of Tennessee. Like
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
the more weird part of Tennessee, even more weird than Nashville. Like you've got more diversity here, I think.
Huh.
And Tennessee, like I come from Chattanooga, so not a super small city, but there's diversity. There's a lot more diversity than people think here. But Knoxville is one of those places where there's more of a difference I think, in political views than probably Chattanooga or Memphis. And then even between the state, like, Memphis is completely different than East Tennessee. I mean, we really should not be in the same state because we're just
Wow.
we don't generally, I say we, but people there don't generally share the same views on just about anything as people here. So,
Well,
and then even
that's any state. I mean, I always tell people, like, I'm from upstate New York,
yeah,
which is a red state with the exception of New York City.
right. I used to live upstate, actually.
You're saying you're
For-
from Potsdam?
I lived there for a summer after when I got married. My husband was finishing up his undergrad up in Canton, Potsdam, at Clarkson University up there.
Nice.
So we lived there for a summer, and it was beautiful, and I loved the people. I was so, being from down here, they're like those Yankees up there. They're mean. And,
Yeah, that's not exactly Yankees, though.
yeah, exactly.
That's a
They-
funny
they
thing.
were
Like, if you're not from New York City, you're just kind of. I mean, I always joke it's your little part of West Virginia in the middle of New York State.
Yeah, but the people were so lovely, and it's so beautiful up there. Like we were like an hour away from the border of Canada because my husband is Canadian, or was.
Nice.
He's citizen now, but so we were really, really far up there. So I never experienced a New York winter like that, but we moved to Upper Michigan, the Upper Peninsula of Upper Michigan, for him to go to Michigan Tech.
Pretty
and
similar from what I understand.
Oh, I mean, they had 42 feet of snow the first year we were there.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I came from Chattanooga, the last winter I had done was Chattanooga, and so it was bad.
That
It
would
was
be an
bad.
adjustment, yeah.
Let me tell you about when I was a kid and we used to have to tunnel out of my house
Yeah,
to get to the school bus.
exactly. Hey, we got those they call them Youper scoopers. You probably have them in New York. They're just like these huge, wide, like sidewalk with push along shovels. And you'd have to do that when you leave and when you come back. Like,
I mean, if you wanted to get into your house, anyways.
right. But the people there, too, were so just lovely people. I really loved it there as far as the summers go. And it was a great experience, but I don't want to go back to that kind of cold weather. I've learned my lesson. Then I lived in Wisconsin and Colorado. So
Oh, God.
I've lived in cold places, but the UP takes them all, man. It was like we were on a peninsula in Lake Superior off the
Oh,
Upper Peninsula, the
okay.
Keweenaw.
Yeah, that would do it.
So, yeah, the lake effect snow is just insane.
And
It's
I lived
insane.
in the Buffalo Jamestown area, essentially, of New York
Right.
State. So I was just that hour off of the lake where everything
Yeah.
dumps on you. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
Even Tennessee winters are getting a little much for me, but
Yeah.
anyway.
So clearly, you've spent a lot of time, a lot of different places. How does that
Yeah.
affect the type of music that you listen to?
Oh, I hadn't thought about how the different places affected the music I listened to. I think I grew up in a family of musicians, and when I say that, I don't mean like they just played a little, like professional musicians. And my dad was a regional sort of known musician, and my uncle was a touring musician with different acts. And so, a bunch of my family they play instruments, and when we'd get together, that's what we'd do. We'd like for Thanksgiving, everybody'd bring something, we'd sing, and like it's what you think it is when people go, oh, Southern people, like we're that's what we would do. So
That must be
all
where
of
my
them-
aunt got it from.
Oh,
yeah, I
When
mean,
she used to live in the
do-
South. She must have picked it up.
Yeah. My family too. What about that? No. Yeah. So a lot of people do have a lot of music talent in their family. Like music is still a big part of a lot of Southerners, lives, especially like bluegrass and things like that, country music. But I grew up with a lot of different musical influences because my dad had a certain musical taste, and the bands he was with, they played like Southern rock, country, some bluegrass. But my uncles were rock. One of my uncles is a drummer, and he was really into heavy metal and then the beginnings of rap and things like that. So he, like, one of my first ever cassettes was like a mixtape he made me of Motley Crue, Shout at the Devil, and Run DMC, Tougher Than Leather. They were together on the same tape, and like I loved that. I played that thing till it broke. So I had a lot of different musical influences. And then I think when I moved around, I'm sure I picked up different, like I know from the Canadian side, like my husband there are several Canadian acts that I had no idea who they were. One is Kim Mitchell, which I really like. He's a rock guy, and he never was really big here in the States. But in upstate New York, they play him on the radio, but not anywhere down here. And he's like a big act up there. He has his own radio show and stuff now. But like Roger Whittaker, who's a folk musician, which I actually hate. I can't stand his music. My husband loves Roger Whittaker. So that's one thing I realized I did not like him. But I think living in the Midwest, in Upper Michigan and Wisconsin, they have like I never was really into accordion music,
Okay.
like polka, but you learn to like get in. I remember, I kid you not, when I lived in Upper Michigan, I worked in a grocery store. That was one of the things I did, and I remember some of the kids that I worked with were so excited because the polka king Frank Yankovic was coming to town.
That's hilarious.
And,
I was just
yeah,
thinking of
like-
him.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, you're going to go see Frank Yankovic?" I'm like, "Who? What?" They're like, "Oh, Polka King. Don't you know anything?" I'm like, "No, I don't know anything." So, but you pick up that, like that's and it's great. Like it's fun music. The accordion is big in a lot of kind of, I wouldn't say native or indigenous, but like French and Italian and Polish and like all these cultures
Oh yeah.
love their accordion. So,
She
and
means,
when I went to Wisconsin, I'm sorry.
so she means she loves the Bare Naked Ladies. That was the short answer to that question.
Well, I mean, there's
Oh, yeah. Yes, Gordon is a great album.
that is a great album.
It is.
Yeah.
See, I imagine
I
she's
love Bare Naked
probably
Ladies.
about my Uncle Jeff's age.
Hmm.
Who is?
I think you're probably about my Uncle Jeff's age based on the stuff that you've mentioned so far.
Yeah, I'm 41, almost 42.
A little younger.
So don't
Wow, you
don't
look
tell
fabulous.
anybody.
She's
Thank you,
talking
darling.
about being an old lady. And that's not
Yeah,
true.
I
then.
mean,
you're not that much older than me
when
to be an old lady.
Yeah, well, when I hear myself say something like, "I moved back here 16 years ago,"
I know that
like,
does sound
oh
weird,
my
right?
gosh.
And I graduated college like 15 years ago or something like that. They slip past you, I
Yeah.
tell you.
Yeah,
I'm still a young man.
20-year high was a few years ago. So yeah,
There you go. Hey, 60's the new 40, and 40's the new, I don't know, something, 20,
18?
right?
yeah, and yeah. Right. So like so living in all the different places. I think there were musical influences, not
Oh,
huge
yeah.
ones, but things I enjoy, like the Youpers. I never would have heard of the Youpers and their 30-point buck song, Cheesehead song, and all that weird stuff if I weren't there, and contra dancing, stuff like that, with more of a folk type
Interesting.
music. And I used to do that in Wisconsin. That was fun. And then Colorado, I don't really know that I had too many musical influences that were new to me in Colorado. But
I mean, my understanding of Colorado is it's a lot of not being by people.
especially where I lived on the Western Slope, like that, it's not,
where were
you know,
you
on
at?
the other side of. I was in Grand Junction,
Okay.
which
I actually have like some souvenir stuff from there from when I was a kid. I've had family that have all settled in Colorado at various points of their lives.
okay.
Pikes Peak is always a place that like sticks out to me
Yeah.
as a name. I don't know what that means, but
Yeah.
but I've heard of it.
Highest peak in Colorado.
Oh.
It's where I think the Continental Divide goes through there too. So
Fancy.
I don't remember, but yeah, I loved. If I didn't want my kids, I got pregnant is why we moved back here. My dad was dying of cancer.
That'll
So I wanted my kids to have at least one set of grandparents, and I wasn't moving to Canada. And my in-laws are a lot older. Like my mother-in-law will be 90 this year, so they're quite a bit older than my parents, and they're older than my grandparents. So I wanted them to be close to one of their grandparents, because to me that's really important, that grandchild relationship. And so we moved back here. And but if that hadn't happened, we'd still be living in Colorado. I loved it, and I love East Tennessee. Like, this is my home, and I love the mountains, and I just loved the western slope of Colorado and being within an hour of the mountains. Like, I could see them when I walked out my front door. The Grand Mesa was right. That was the view I had, and it's the largest flat top mountain in the world. And then to one side of Grand Junction, you have the Book Cliff Mountains, and then the other side you have the Colorado National Monument. So
You
I
have
love
to
to
be
hike.
a terrible neocon, because you're just like the most excited I've ever heard anybody talk about the places they live. And oh my God, I loved it so much. Neocons are miserable people, aren't they?
Yeah, in
There's
a way,
there's a hippie somewhere in there. I'm telling you.
there definitely is. Like, people who knew me when I was younger go, "I'm not surprised you're an anarchist." Like, it doesn't surprise me, because I was always kind of contrary and questioning things, and I've always been like, this is where I wasn't neocon in the sense of social matters, because I've always had a diversity of friends, and I've been obsessed with like Japan since I was about 5 years old.
She just
And,
likes guns, is what it sounds like.
I'm sorry.
So it sounds like you just like guns and people shooting them in mass.
Yeah. I mean, I like my guns too. But I'm kind of what you call, there's xenophobes. I'm kind of a xenophile. I was always really interested in the other. So yeah, in that way, I'm a hippie, because now, like, I do hang out with a lot of hippies, because I do hoop dance,
Nice.
flow, the flow dance and stuff. So I love that. And it's mostly hippies that do that, so it's great. I love them. We smoke a little weed and we do some flow and all get together. My kids can come to that. Like, it's an all, so everyone's invited. It's a very inclusive community, and they're beautiful people, just stay away from the guns and we'll all be fine.
So you've said that you come from, family of musicians. How does music kind of fit in your life now? Are you a performer at all yourself, or, do you just listen to what's on the radio? How does that work for you?
Well, I know that when especially once I got married and started moving around a lot, I've, like I said, I listened to a lot of talk radio, but I've always I used to have a big CD collection. But since I had kids, I didn't listen to the radio that much. I was just busy and tired. That was the two things. And so there wasn't a lot, but I find myself listening to things more now, but it's because of YouTube, honestly, because when I'm downstairs working or whatever, at my desk working, I'll put on YouTube and listen to what I want. So I'm through the flow scene, I've kind of gotten into EDM.
That makes sense.
And a lot of and a lot of the newer type music. But like, I used to love metal, and I just kind of, after like 1995, I'm a little disconnected with what's new, and I'll hear something and like it, but I don't really follow to me. I love Ghost. I know that some people are like that think that's dumb, but I love them. I think they're very good, and
I mean, if you're
like-
into soft rock, they're pretty okay.
yeah, I mean, they're not hardcore metal, but they're more like stylized, which I love. Very style. Like I used to love.
I'm just being
like
an
I love.
ass.
Right, it's okay. We're all asses in our own little way. But like I when I was growing up, like Metallica and Justice for All was one of the first things I ever bought myself. I was like 13, and I bought this at this where they had like bootleg copies of stuff. I bought and Justice for All, and I loved that album. I love metal. Magna Carta Cartel I really like now too, but they're very highly stylized, and I've always been like a big Steely Dan, Alan Parsons Project fan too. Yes, I love, and those, they sort of remind me of them, a little harder but very stylized, very crafted. And I'm not as much into punk and things like that are more garage style or raw. Like there's some stuff I like, but I'm not like the hugest fan of those genres. So,
Yeah.
I always try not to say, well, I hate that style of music. Like, I'm not a huge country music fan, and mostly because I end up fucking crying every time I turn the damn country music station, because, somebody's wishing their children,
Yeah.
they're writing a song, they're dying of cancer, and they want you to know what they want for your life, and I'm like, oh.
They're really
So-
good at the schmaltz with the country music.
So, but I mean, there's like, I love bluegrass, which, definitely would fall into that. But a lot of country today is more like
It's pop
middle of the
music with
road
a steel
southern
guitar.
rock. Yeah, it's not like I'm starting to get more into like outlaw country. When I grew up, that was a big thing, and so I know a lot of those. But like, my son is learning to play the guitar, and he loves Johnny Cash, and so I'm starting to revisit some of that. And I'm like, oh yeah, and I love Dolly Parton.
Well, you just gotta
I
get into
adore
Hank
that.
Free.
Because she's awesome.
Yeah, she is awesome. And she's from right down the road. So, I just think she's one of those amazing people who has always sort of been ahead of her time and is who she is no matter what crowd she's in. So I just love her. I think she's really savvy and sassy and all those
Oh,
things.
she's
so,
sassy, all right.
oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I just had another problem here, a technical issue. You guys, the card. Hold on. I got to replace the card in my camera.
No worries.
You're okay.
I've always kind of wished I could see Dolly Parton and
Naked?
and Kristen Chenoweth like do some sort of something like Broadway
Oh, no, and I
or
want to see
something.
him do.
Yes, we all know what you'd want to see them do. Thank you. Because I love them, and they're both so like, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
No, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Sorry, I'm just over here having inappropriate fantasies about Kristen Chenoweth and Dolly Parton.
Yeah, because I was saying they would be like the two people I'd want to see like do a Broadway thing or some sort of Grand Ole Opry special or something.
Right.
Okay, I'm back. Thank you, guys. I'm so sorry. Gosh, I as you might have noticed by now, I'm not the most technically savvy person. So when my producer isn't here, things they go wrong. The gremlins take over, and I do everything wrong.
It's
I
almost Gremlin
apologize.
season. That's okay.
It is Gremlin
Yeah.
season?
But-
Almost.
Yeah, I think my house has been haunted this past week too. Like with Alan visiting, everything was like weird. Like all this weird stuff was happening. So I think Alan's haunted, and when he comes here, he brings his ghosts with him. So
There you go. Oh my god.
I do. I love Dolly, and I love bluegrass. I think apparently my mom she always tells me we had a famous female banjo player relative that because a long time ago her family was wealthy, and then like somebody married somebody they didn't approve of, like my great grandparents, and they were like black sheep and they were disowned or whatever. So I don't know much about that family. She keeps telling me I need to find out who that was. But this woman went all over the world apparently playing her banjo. And
That's pretty cool.
so I guess.
I think the banjo is an awesome instrument. Personally, I'm a really big fan. But I like bluegrass, and I like all that stuff. So
Y'all cray cray.
uh-huh.
Yeah, it's part of the. I think, too, like it shows the cultural diversity of music, and this is one of the things I think is so great about music, because I believe the banjo comes from an African instrument,
It does.
which you're kind of like, yeah, like what? Because it's not associated with anything really African anymore, not here anyways. And so I think that's beautiful things about music, is that it's like it really shows you what the intellectual property, because you take those things, you take it in and you make it your own, and it might be similar, but you're doing it your own way, and I think that really it's one of those things that brings people together no matter what. Like I think you listen to like some African music, and nobody, unless they're just a complete like cunt, you can't sit still.
Yeah.
Or like Brazilian music I was listening to yesterday, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I literally cannot sit still while this is playing. I can't work to it because I move around too much. Like I want to like,
yeah,
I gotta move my body. So yeah, I think that's one of the beautiful things about music, and so I try to keep like an open mind to music, because I don't want to close myself off to anything, because it's just kind of, it's weird, or it's in this genre, which I say I don't like or whatever. So
Okay, so
it's good.
So here's the next question, the soundtrack question. Is there a moment in your life or like a time period that you find is inextricably linked to a song or like a type of music? Like you think about your son and he's just this particular song in your head.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do have a time that I know, like I think my life changed that day when I heard this song first, and that was the first time I heard "Smells Like Teen Spirit." Like my life was just different after that. It was completely like, because I was in high school, like or middle school, like maybe eighth or ninth grade, when Nirvana like hit Tennessee anyways, and it changed my life. It changed a lot of my friends' lives, and like you think that, like it sounds maybe stupid to people as like an adult going, but music is really important to you as a kid and defining who you are and the group that you're with. And after that I was so into grunge. I'd really been into metal, and I got really into grunge, and it just sort of changed my outlook on a lot of things. It really did. That song changed my life. I remember the first time I heard it, I was just floored. I had never heard anything like that, and it just spoke to me,
That's pretty awesome, because I don't know a ton of people with that experience with Nirvana, so that's really cool that it had that input.
That's because you're a church kid, Liz.
Well, I know, I get that. I'm not arguing. Jeez. Like, I know all these bands that nobody's ever heard of. Like, I know that Nirvana was huge for a lot of people, and it's cool.
I'll be honest,
that
Liz is excited because all of my libertarian people that we talk to, so many of them come from Christian backgrounds, and they know all the Christian music that she talks about that I have no idea who it is.
Right. Hey, I saw Carmen in concert, man.
No
I've
way.
been there.
That's ridiculous.
And Amy Grant before she hit the pop, culture.
Yeah.
And
well, that's one
I
of the
used to
benefits
go to
of
these-
living in Tennessee, right?
yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, that would be one of the benefits of living in Tennessee.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I did grow up in a religious family. Like my grandfather, my mom's dad had been a Church of Christ minister. My dad's family was Church of God. So, which are really two. It's funny because they're so different. And then my mom, she comes from a really messed up family, and so she didn't know what to teach us. So she just let us go with our friends wherever. And she used to get the Jehovah's Witness books. Like they would come around and you could buy books from them.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to get the Watchtower and like the different books that would terrify us of the end times. That's my sister and I.
Awesome.
And so, we had a lot of different musical influences as well, because my grandmother being in the Church of Christ, and I went to church a lot with another Church of Christ person, one of her neighbors that lived across the street, and they don't do music. They have no accompaniment with their music. They think that's wrong. So it's all just vocal. And then like Church of God, they're running around and speaking in tongues, getting slain in the spirit, and have tambourines and drums and
Yeah.
like, and then like I my favorite honestly was going to the black church, like with my friends or my grandmother's coworkers.
Don't rub it in, please.
Because no, it's like they have the best time. Like you kind of get bored in the churches that I've been, but like, man, going to like the what was it, the United Methodist or African Methodist Church, I think it was.
Yeah.
And it was something like that. I can't exactly remember, but I loved going there because, for one, they dressed so outlandishly for church, like to the nines.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
Hats and yeah.
I loved watching people walk in, and they would, like, getting closer to time, they would start playing the organ, and people would like dance, walk to their seats, like strut. With we have what's called in Chattanooga, Bessie Smith, the Empress of the Blues, is from Chattanooga, right?
Oh, okay.
So we have this thing called the Bessie Smith strut, and so people will strut down the street, and that was sort of what it was like.
Yeah.
So I loved that, and then just like the organ, it was so different than what I was used to, and people were really, it was very lively, and the Church of God in the same way, it's very lively. It's not quiet and somber and serious, and
Thanks,
so
Liz.
I grew up with.
Thanks a lot,
Yeah.
honey.
Nick's having like a flashback because when
See,
we first
I
started
married
going out,
I married a black Baptist woman.
yeah, he was
Oh,
hoping
yeah,
I was
okay.
from that kind of a background.
Yeah, but to find out that
Right.
we're not those type of Baptists. We don't do any of that carrying on nonsense.
Right, no dancing, no drinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom's best friend too is black, and we used to go to church with her sometimes. And their church was a little different than my grandmother's friend's church, but it was this, like, it was more coordinated. Like the choir would come in always like down the center aisle dancing, and it was great. Like some of the best vocalists you'll ever hear were in that church, and so I love that community centered around music. And I was watching a documentary recently about some modern day Orthodox Jews who are young and have moved away from home. And I don't know that they were even actually practicing Orthodoxy anymore, but they were living in LA, and they would get together. These are young people, and they would get together and have a traditional meal and sing songs together. And it was so beautiful to see people having a real communal experience.
Yeah,
Like
that's
really appreciating where they come from and singing the songs of their people, Like,
yeah.
so I loved that, and I think that's missing a lot of times. That's one of the things I think church really does provide people, is that community, that sense of community with music and food. And because in the South, you don't have church things.
Oh
without
God, no,
food.
and
Like,
not eat. Yeah, forget that.
we eat.
Yeah.
That we love and we eat. So yeah.
I know. I was
that's-
getting exciting listening to you on Danny Reed's podcast.
Danny Reed. I don't know who that is.
Culinary and libertarian.
Oh, Daniel! When you said Danny, it just threw me off.
I can't say Dan without the e at the end of it.
It's like Tony,
Well, he did
Benny.
Yeah, I'm Italian. It's, everything ends in a vowel for me.
Danny. Yeah.
Tony, what you doing? Come on.
He's a
Hey.
guy. Yeah, and I really enjoyed that. But that's the truth. What I said on there, it really is true, that those communal experiences, I think, are what so many people are searching for. And we have like a lot of networks we belong to, but very few communities. And so that's one of the things that's my intention for this upcoming year, is to start really trying to build what I think the Free State Project has sort of done in New Hampshire. Whether you go there and vote or not, you've got a community. And I was just speaking with Coleman Barkin, who is lives up there, just moved there for the Free State Project, and an Orthodox Jew. And so we were talking about the community of that and how the Free State Project, there's always something going on with people there. And I think they've really got community there. And I want to have some of that here too with other people who think like I do. So it's secular. It's based around a set of ideals rather than a religious view. But I think that's perfectly acceptable. So,
Well, and I think that, I mean, you're
what I'd like to do.
your Postcards of Somalia is on the Launchpad Media with us, and that seems like it's been Johnny's big idea from the get-go, is that, you know, we need to have some type of culture. I know with our show in particular, for me, it's always been about the idea that, you know, sure, we can all sit and fight about the politics and the nuance of our ideas, but I would rather us talk about the things that we have in common and build bonds as people. Because at the end of the day, people that
Absolutely.
share these ideas are the people that I want to be around. And if we're only ever going to talk politics, we're not going to build those relationships that we need to have to build the communities that are going to show people that our ideas are superior.
Yes, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right.
And
That's
I think we're turning a corner in that, like, we have like the first wave of libertarian podcasters did really good talking about the ideas, and I think that there's a new generation, you know, like you and us, the guys over at ANCAP Barbershop, that are forging that way for the non-libertarian podcast, so to speak, where we just we're libertarians with podcasts, essentially.
yes.
And
And because I know for a lot of people, I mean, libertarianism is not a religion, although a lot of people live it like it is. And in a way, I mean, it has tenets and beliefs, and
I'm an atheist, so the nap works for God for me.
Right. And I think it does. It communicates. And I'm so tired of hearing people say, you can't be an anarchist and a Christian, or you can't be an atheist and, love freedom. All these stupid things that people argue over, or borders or whatever. Like, there's a time and place to do that. And it's important that we talk about those things. Mm-hmm. But we should maybe try to do it with a little kindness to each other, because when it comes down, when the shit hits the fan, at least you are still a person who believes that it's not right to do anything to harm me, and we need to stick together, not tear each other apart for
trust me,
other
when the
beliefs.
shit's rolling downhill, the Democrats and the Republicans are more than happy to bind together to fuck us over. So
exactly. So
all right,
I think you're absolutely right.
So the big question, we'll go there.
Mm-hmm.
If you had 5 records you could tell everyone to go out and listen to right now, they don't have to be your favorite 5. Just 5 that you would come to mind and say, go listen to these, it'll make your life better. What would they be and why?
Oh, wow. 5 that would make your life better.
Or worse. I'm pretty open. If you want to ruin somebody's day, that's your personality. Go for it.
Oh, good God.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that's a hard question for me to answer. That really is, because I'd say I don't know if I can. That's a really hard question. I would say you'd have to have one by Led Zeppelin in there.
Okay.
I don't know if it would be like Houses of the Holy.
It's Houses of the Holy. It's the one you go with.
Okay. House of the Holy. Oh gosh, that's so hard. I think you should have like a great jazz in there. I really do. I think jazz is it's not my favorite genre, but there is, I mean, talk about incredible musicianship. You won't find better musicians than you do who play jazz. And just the freedom and flexibility of that genre, I think is really great. And there's some jazz I really, really like. So like a Herbie Hancock, something like that. Go and listen to, or Duke Ellington, something.
Nice.
Oh geez, that's 2, right?
Yeah, that's 2.
I think you should listen to some really old school rap.
Okay.
Like we're talking oh, who is it I'm thinking of?
Grandmaster
my head.
Flash.
Grandmaster Flash. Oh, I love Grandmaster Flash. And you see, if you go back and you listen to like the beginnings of the Sugar Hill Gang, that's what I was trying to think of. If you go back and you listen to like, especially like Grandmaster Flash or some of those guys, you're going to get a lesson on the United States of America.
Oh, yeah.
You really are. You're going to get a lesson on what white people are just figuring out. And that is how oppressive the state is. So I think that's a really important genre of, I can't tell you an album. Like,
that's fine.
Really hard. Or even like Digital Underground, like not stuff that's gone into just like, you know, slapping bitches and making money. Like, I like rap. I really do. And it doesn't offend me when they say shit like, you know, slap a bitch or fuck them hoes or whatever. Like, that doesn't offend me because I understand the shtick, you know. But I think there is still some commentary, but I think a lot of it has been like co-opted for like just consumerism.
Mm-hmm.
So like NWA, if you go back and listen to some of their stuff, like that's who I would say go listen to NWA. Like, and you will know what the state is about. I think, oh gosh, who am I thinking of? Roger, the guy, the blues man who went to the Crossroads. What's his name?
Roger Waters?
No. You're. I know what you're talking about.
Or Robert.
Oh yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
I do. I will look it up for the show notes.
Johnson.
Yeah, Robert Johnson.
Robert Johnson. Yes. Like if you go and listen to something of his, like I don't know that he actually had albums so much as songs.
They recorded
I'm not sure.
singles back in their era.
Yeah. But I think blues is so quintessentially American that it's really important if you want to understand music. And just I mean, you hear it in so much of rock, especially from the 70s, like Led Zeppelin and the singer-songwriter. Like, you hear that blues come through, and the British invasion, they were obsessed with the blues. Like, all these bands, Led Zeppelin and Fleetwood Mac and all those things, they were trying to be blues bands.
And they paid a lot of money for it too.
Yeah, they sure did. I think you need to go back and listen to something like that, or like I've seen BB King in concert, amazing. And I've seen Chuck Berry. I've probably seen like 7 times in concert.
Interesting.
So. My parents used to take me to see him every year. Like, my dad was a musician and he adored him. So we used to go every single year. That he had this concert at a little
interesting place for a father to take his daughter. He didn't.
Yeah, it was at an amusement park though.
He didn't try and like usher you across state lines, did he?
It was actually in Georgia, because like Chattanooga, I don't know if most people know this, like you can drive 10 minutes and you're in Georgia. It's very close. It's right on the border with Georgia.
Interesting.
So there's this little amusement park down there called Lake Winnepesaukah, and he would have a concert there every year. I don't know, this wasn't the biggest venue ever, but my parents would take me every year to see him. So for many years we'd go see him then. And it's incredible concert, like incredible. And he's just like this great entertainer and so electrifying on stage. And he was always a fun guy to watch. So I think people should check out like those older blues style musicians. And the same thing, there's a lot of maybe not quite as straightforward commentary as some of the rap on America, but you'll learn some things, I think. I think one of my favorite bands ever, they're way up there for me. So I think Rumors is one you should listen to, just because I love it so much.
There's not enough Christine on that album for me.
Yeah, I think Christine is great, but I'm a huge, I wish I could, wear Stevie Nicks as a skin around me. I beside her and be her for like, and I'm like a lot bigger than she is, but
You could,
I,
have her babies,
I do.
whatever.
I'm obsessed. Yeah, and there's an album. It was before Lindsay and Stevie joined Fleetwood Mac, but it was when it was Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac.
Yep.
And there's a song called "Hypnotized" that everyone listening to this podcast, go find it. It's on YouTube. It's Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac, "Hypnotized." That is an amazing song. It's not like many things you'll ever hear. It's very, very cool. I love lyrics. So, listening to lyrics, really, that's one of the reasons I love Stevie Nicks so much. I love those lyrics. I think she's a beautiful lyricist. And and I like Sting. I love his lyrics. The lyrics to that song are just incredible. Let's see. I think I love Bob Marley too. And
Fucking hippie.
gosh, I know.
Terrible
I know.
neocon. Terrible neocon.
Bob Marley written.
I know I was probably the worst neocon ever, but I would have wanted them to go kill you there. So, gosh, maybe Exodus. I
Okay.
don't know, or Catch a Fire. It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick a Bob Marley record too, because I think there's so much great stuff. I think reggae is just incredible music, and I love like the kind of Jamaican dance hall that's sort of
Oh,
been
yeah.
popular. Like Sean Paul, I love him.
I love Sean Paul, too.
So
Jean de Paul.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, Sean. I would totally dig going to Jamaica and like going to one of those dance parties. Like I would, because I love dance too, and so I would love to just be in that crowd and see people. Like, I don't know. I think Americans in general have downplayed moving your body in certain ways. Like men don't dance really very much in American culture, and so I think that's really sad. Like, I think, some of the greatest dancers were men. So you got Mikhail Baryshnikov. I mean, he was so powerful and graceful. And like he's a classically trained dancer, but you also have like,
Gene Kelly.
or
Astaire.
say Gregory Hines, who he did that movie White Nights with Baryshnikov. Like, he's a beautiful dancer. He just moves so beautifully. And I think it's something we sort of miss out in our culture, because I know a lot of like men in the Celtic style, like now you see mostly women doing clogging, but really men do that too. And there are men but it's something you don't see much of, or buck dancing, whatever you call it. But I think that's something that we're kind of missing, and men have become so detached from like an actual healthy manhood in a lot of ways, because our society for so many years has been going like this ultra authoritarian. A man is this, a woman is this.
And blah blah blah, patriarchy. I get it.
Well, no, that's not
Whatever.
necessarily what she's saying.
Look, I'm just glad that we've realized in this podcast that Sherry has spent the majority of her life lying to herself about what she is, and she has finally found her true self, and that is important to me.
Yeah, maybe I'm having a moment right now. Maybe I'm.
She grew up thinking she was a neocon, and deep down she was a dope smoking hippie. Go figure.
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a hard time understanding myself. Let me tell you that much. So, yeah, I am.
Well,
I have.
believe
really
me, I get it. I always joke with people because I'm like very, very queeny. And yet at the same time, I am incredibly masculine in some respects.
Right.
So
Just don't put people in boxes.
They just compete with each other. I can never decide if I'm gonna slap you across the face or punch you in the mouth.
Right. One of my favorite shows, I know this isn't about music, but I love Drag Race.
Really?
Drag.
I've watched so many clips of it, and I know that if I got into it, I would just like get sucked into it. Like, I couldn't.
It's not like Michael Malice's favorite show.
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't really listen to Michael Malice. I mean, I like the guy, I saw him at the Tom Woods South event thing, and I see him on Twitter and stuff, but I don't follow him, so I don't know. But I love Drag Race, not only because, like, to me, drag queens are like not the leftist politics part, but the just look, this is who I am, and fuck you if you don't like it. Like, I loved it.
There is something very charming about that to me. I agree.
Yes, I love a drag queen, like somebody who's just, they're out and they're showing you probably the dirtiest thing in their closet.
See,
you know, like,
I think
for what most people think.
I think we'd have less leftists in that camp if people could actually internalize that. Because the bottom line is, if it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks, then you're gonna have a lot less of the baggage that goes with that.
Yeah.
Which is what's unfortunate.
Yeah, and I had a similar, like, coming out experience, and I won't say that it was like being gay and coming out, because I'm sure that's much more difficult. But when I first became an anarchist, I was very closeted about that. Like, I didn't want people to know, because, you know, we're a member of these homeschool groups, and what if their kids ostracize mine, or, you know. And I remember listening to a Larkin Rose speech called "You're Not the Boss of Me" that he did several years ago. And that's like my go-to. And like, when I need to get my game face on and I need to fuck some shit up, I put on that speech and I'm like, we're doing it. Like, you're not the fucking boss of me, right? And we're going to do. So I remember the first time I listened to that, I walked upstairs and my husband was like laying in the bed on his computer doing some work. And I was like, I opened the door and I'm like, I'm telling everybody I'm an anarchist now. I don't care anymore. I'm not hiding it anymore. Like, I'm free. Like, I just got freed. Because I just thought, you know, what better way to prepare my kids? Because I do believe my job as a parent is to get them to adulthood. Like, I'm not raising children. I'm raising adults who can think, who have dangerous minds. Like, I want my kids to have dangerous minds. I want people to be afraid to like, say some stupid shit, because they know
talking
that's
to Jodie Foster, or no, Michelle Pfeiffer. That's who it was.
Oh God.
I don't know who that is.
He was making a '90s movie joke.
Yeah, I was
It's
making
okay.
a '90s reference joke about Dangerous Minds, the movie, where Michelle Pfeiffer is the teacher that goes into the inner city and makes life better for the kids.
Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer, what a beauty. But anyways, I want my kids to be dangerous to the state, to be loving and truly compassionate and truly kind enough to tell you that you're full of shit. Like, that's what I want. I want kids who are polite. Like, manners are really important to me, believe it or not. And so, like, my kids are very polite, but they're also sharp, and I want them to be. And so I'm like, why am I hiding? I don't need to be ashamed of who I am. People who want to use force against me should be ashamed. They should be ashamed that they want to vote to have somebody throw me in a rape cage somewhere. So, like, I just got tired of thinking that I'm the one who should keep quiet, because I'm not the one who's wrong. So that really freed me. That was another moment in my life where I was just like, the clouds, you know, the heavens opened, and, you know, like, it was an experience, because it was a mental chain that I had. I was in my own mental prison, which are worse than prisons, you know, with bars. If you, like, no, I'm not saying that I have a life that was worse than, just because people didn't know I was anarchist, of actual people in prison, but they can be very confining. You can be in a prison and not even know it, because you're letting other people determine how you live and who you are. And I was done with that. So that was a beautiful moment. Did we do 5 albums? Is that 5?
Yeah, you got
You're
it.
good.
It's
You
awesome.
are good.
I would also like throw Pink Floyd in there, like
Pink Floyd.
bonus.
Right on.
Like either like, I love The Wall. Of course, who doesn't love The Wall? Like, we don't need no education what they've got, you know. So I love that, but also, like, Pulse, I think, is one of the best live albums ever.
I'm glad somebody recommended that one,
Oh,
because that is
I
a good
love
record.
Pulse. So good. And so it's so hard for me, though. I really do. I have a lot of albums that they're my go-tos, you know, like I have Yes album. That's my go-to. And
Which album's that?
Well, I think most of them are on the Greatest Hits album. What is it? Let me see which one it is.
Fragile.
I don't know. Like I'm not a huge Rush fan, but I had Moving Pictures,
It's a good
and
record.
that's a great album. It's got Tom Sawyer on it too. I think 90125 is probably my go-to album for So I love Roundabout, and it's 90125 came out in the 80s, and Roundabout is like one of the most badass songs ever.
So
I think.
90125 is the one they did with the dude from the Buggles, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. So I really like that. Fragile's good, but 90125 is probably my go-to. But like with Rush, like I think Rush is a lot like Yes in some ways, and that's why I like Moving Pictures. But I don't really like anything else Rush too much. So
Nice.
I like some for me there are some bands who I'm like, there are 5 songs that I would not want to live without, but the rest of the catalog I could do without. But they're great bands for these 5 songs. Genesis is another one. Like Abacab, I love Mama. Like there's a few songs, The World We Live In, things like that like there's like a handful of songs where I can see why they're a great band, but the rest of their stuff I'll just take a nap. Like I'm not into it.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
That's awesome.
But yeah, I love Yes. So that's 90125. That's we're going with that. We're sticking with it.
That works.
We could go
Alright.
going for the one. It's great too. But
all right. Well, it is about that time because I have to get to band practice. But it's been a
All right.
fantastic conversation. I'm glad we finally got this thing set
Yeah,
up.
it's awesome.
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And you guys are great. And I love that you're doing this. I think that it's a great idea to talk to different people, and we're not so different, right?
Well, that is a point. I just want to point out that hey, we're people and we have interests outside of just yelling at each other about politics.
Yeah.
Because that road just doesn't really lead anywhere good, I guess.
Yeah, it doesn't make a rich life. It doesn't make for a rich life. Just yelling at people because they're cucks. Like that doesn't make a rich life.
No, probably not.
Statists.
Yeah, fucking status.
So, all right, Sherry. Well, you have a wonderful night and good talking to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Clip till you're rolling, run till your heart can't